Go.
Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop, which is actually clean. Now we're going to do something here that I personally hate. I really don't like shop tours. But I have a lot of people who ask me for shop tours because people like to see how shops are laid out and how things go around. So I figured this would be a good opportunity because I finished the table, which is out of here, and I'm so excited. And now I have space in the shop, and I spent like 4 days this last week cleaning in here and reorganizing and putting in new furniture and things like that in the space. So I figured we'd do a live Q&A shop tour. So if you have any questions about shop organization, how I have things laid out, that's a great thing to ask here. But if you do have any particular questions that don't have to do with the shop, then go ahead and ask those as well. And if you're watching this not live, then you will see down in the description below all of the questions laid out, so you can read through the questions and then skip ahead in the video to where they are. There's a little timestamp before each one. It'll get you kind of close, usually within a minute or two of where it is in the video. So I hope that is fun for you. Are there any updates or anything I should say?
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, yes, that's right. We have SAW shirts, saw shirts.
Wait. I got it.
Yes, and the front it says SAW, and the back it says...
Look in your screen. Can they see it?
I can't. You're off my screen.
Can you see it?
In the back it says, Sarah's always right. So if you want to watch those...
I just always right, but whatever.
We have those available on the Teespring store. So if you go to woodbywright.com, they're for sale on there, except you have to click on the link to go to Teespring. So yes, I thought those would be kind of fun. We want to do a little fun shirt like that now. It's available in hoodie and t-shirt, and so you can have a selection of colors you like.
In the shop.
Yes, and then Sarah can stay warm in the shop. So yeah, the saw shirts are available. And if you have any idea for a fun shirt, let us know. We might do a few others like that.
That's not.
And we'll probably be doing I'll be redoing the regular Wood by Wright shirts here soon. I want to do a different, I'm thinking of like an olive or a dark brown, dark green. We'll see. So other things happening in the shop. Yeah, well actually let me take you around and show you what all is actually happening in here. Because from this point of view, everything looks normal. I mean, this looks like the regular shop.
Can you do me a favor?
What?
Can you just fix your shirt? It's all like...
Untucked?
Yes, it's just
Here.
bothering me.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
There.
Sorry, it probably doesn't bother anyone else.
So yeah, this looks basically like the regular shop, like you guys are used to seeing it, but everything around the other way, I'm going to turn around, is clean now, and usually there's been a table here, so we have all this space in here. The big new addition are these two cabinets, and so we can actually store... In this one, I have all of my glues and finishes. Then I have down paint supplies and things like that. And so household paints, all of my matching paints are down here. And then in this one, this is where I have the cleaners and tapes, wood fillers, fasteners and ropes, power tools, and oh, you weren't supposed to see that. Don't look down here. No, I do have a grinder, a router, a hot glue gun, except my router isn't working. Oh, and then my power planer, but that's over there. Sandpapers, I have like 5 years of sandpapers, and then all of my books down below there. And so these were, I was very happy to find these. I got these on a really good sale. They're fairly hard to find, but I like that. Yeah. So this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm really excited about this. Oh, and we're also going to be doing the new sticker wall up here. So if anyone wants to show their stickers off, send me a sticker and I'll put it up here. I have a few more to put up on this. So so far we have Heath Knuckles. I love that channel. This one, Bartley Builds. I've had this sticker for a long time and I lost it, and so I just found it recently, put it up here. But yeah. What else we have going on here? So we can turn around this way and see my lovely wife.
Oh, yes, I'm sure.
Here, is that better, babe?
Oh.
There, is that better?
4 out of 5 12-hour shifts is not pretty at this time of the night.
Yes. And then over here we have my old bench. Let me turn around this way. I'm going to make everyone dizzy here for a moment.
I was gonna say.
So this is the old bench here that I built a long time ago. But up here on top, I've got a project that I want to do, which is the next step in the glue test. So all of these will then get turned into little 1 inch by 1 inch by 3/4 inch thick chunks of wood that will then be glued onto all of these. Because I have another like 32 wood glues down here that I want to test. And then I'm going to have a whole series of these that I'm going to set aside and pick the 4 or 5 really good glues and set those aside for years to come. So I'll be testing them every 6 months for like 5 or 20 years or something like that. And I'll set those in the garage so they get the expansion and contraction of different things. So every 6 months or so there'll be a glue test video coming out where I see how have the glues performed over years. So that'll be coming up. Any questions before?
There's a couple, but can you just either angle up or down? Because all we get are lips, and it's kind of...
There, is that better?
Yes. All right, so let's see. Burley Woodwork says, do you ever have any issues with sawdust?
Only when I use power tools. Well, that's one of the interesting things. Have you ever wondered why sawdust is called sawdust when the router makes sawdust and the sander makes sawdust and the planer makes sawdust and every tool in the shop makes sawdust, but only a few tools are actually saws? That's because traditionally with hand tools, the only tool that made sawdust was the saw. And sawdust from a hand saw usually is much larger than sawdust from a power tool, or particularly a sander. And so that sawdust falls rather than being in the air. But anytime that I do have a power tool in the shop, that means more in the air. But I try and keep I have a shop vac, which is upstairs right now. And that mitigates the sawdust pretty well. But every now and then the shop vac falls off or something like that. And so I do get some sawdust, but not that much. If I'm just running hand tools, there's really no sawdust in the air. So, yeah. Another one? Or?
All right, so Burley Woodworks also said, what's the bowl? I'm assuming the one behind you.
This bowl. I did this as a collaboration with William Walker a while ago. And this was, I love this bowl. It is just, here, let me get it closer up here. It'll be out of focus for a moment. Focus. There we go. This one is, because it was round when I turned it, but because it's this cherry burl, it just has this amazing color to it. And I've been letting it dry out and completely warp. And I'm just in love with how this came out. So I'm going to do another coat of finish on here. I'd probably give it to someone. I don't know, maybe I'll use it for something. But yeah, I've got a few projects over here that I've done, but I haven't had a home for them. So we'll see how those go. Maybe Christmas gifts, we'll see. Oh yeah, and I've got this set here. I have a semester that I'm going to be doing with Shannon Rogers at the Hand Tool School. And I'm still starting the videos on it, but I got this whole pile of a basic set of tools that I'm going to go through and restore a saw, a plane, a brace, a set of bits, a set of chisels, just a basic set of tools, and then build a project with just this basic set of tools. So that'll be an entire semester available through the Hand Tool School. So that should be a good time. Questions before I move on? Or
There was one. Samuel Wise said, I watched your build videos on the workbench. Which leg vise have you ended up liking better? Would your opinion change if the legs they were on were changed?
Unfortunately, due to the cable, I can't take you around and show you, but woo, did I just bump it? I bumped it, sorry about that. I have a Hovarder vise here, which, I can do this. Or maybe I can, maybe I can't. Hey, the cable's long enough. Let's see how this one turns on. Sorry, I just got to get this camera up and running. There we go. Yes, I can show you good. Helps to have cables long enough. So on this one, I have a Hovarder vise, which has this knob, but if you rotate it all the way to the left, it stops, and then you can slide it in and out. And so you can fairly easily move it in and out. And once you get to a place, you grab just a board. You can slide it into a board and then lock it down. And it's got this just absolutely ingenious cam system in the back. So you can put in any size board and very quickly change it to any size and lock it down. And I just love how fast this is. I don't use leg vise as much as I use my end vise. I use the end vise far more than anything else. This one is a traditional wooden screw, and this one, I mean, the two of these can put just as much force on that as either one. And I don't find myself using one over the other. I like having two here, so if I have something long, I can put it all the way across them. And there are times where I'll have a project in this vise, and then I'll have a project in this vise, and I kind of use them as almost a clamp. So I really can't say, is there one that I like more than the other? I do like the traditional clamp. I like this one. It just feels good. But the Hovarder vise is just so fast and efficient and nice. Yeah, I really can't say if I like one or the other. I think the only thing I would prefer is the Hovarder vise also comes with the wooden hub and rod as opposed to just the wheel. And I thought the wheel would look kind of cool, but I wish it had the hub rather than the wheel. But the wheel does have a little bit lower profile, so if I'm coming by here, it doesn't take up any space as I go by it. So, yeah, there are the vices. Hope that answers the question.
I think so.
Oop, let's go to that one. I hit a camera that isn't there.
All right, let's see. Robert Bolin Thielen asks, how do you deal with plain shavings?
I throw them out. When you're first getting started, plain shavings can be very addicting. They just look gorgeous. There's so many things, and I've used them for mulch in the past around the flower beds. I've made a few projects out of them. I've made some of the decorative ones and put them in a jar. My mother's always like, oh, I love the curls, so I sent her a trash bag of curls, and now she's trying to figure out what to do with them. But in the end, I take them out back and I dump them into the compost pile. That's about it. Just because they're not. And a lot of times, here, let me show you what I have down here. Whoop, got my foot caught. I always have this pile that I keep them down here until the pile gets too big. But often the pile ends up having all sorts of other trash, like I have tape and paper and things like that. And so I'm just going to scoop that up and literally throw it in the trash because it's not worth throwing into the compost pile to pick all that stuff out. But sometimes I just have a pile of shavings and that goes in the compost pile. But
Except for the one random strand in our living room.
Yeah, I have one pretty strand hanging from the ceiling.
No, it looks
that
like a giant
I love.
cobweb that I'm not allowed to touch. Y'all don't understand.
What else you got?
All right, Miles Radisky. What is the best wood to work with?
White oak.
We all
honestly, the best wood to work with is the wood you have.
I knew that was going to be your answer.
For hand tools, walnut or cherry are really nice hand tool woods. They're fairly forgiving. They're easy to work with. They work very smoothly, and they look good. White oak is a very challenging wood to work with hand tools, but is very rewarding. There's just so many textures and colors to it, and it's a wonderful wood. Poplar is actually a really nice wood, very easy to work with hand tools. It's a bit soft, so it's not great for a lot of things, but it's an easy wood to work with, and you get a lot of different colors with it. But pretty much any wood out there you can do. Everyone has their pros and cons. Some of them are harder, some of them are softer, some of them have colors, some of them are bland. Any wood, it works well.
There's a consensus about basswood.
Basswood is phenomenal for carving. Actually, I have a block right up here. I have a large block of basswood that I purchased a while ago, sitting up here, and I'm waiting for something I want to carve because it's 2.5 inches by about a foot by about 6 inches, and I want to carve something out of it. But yeah, basswood is like the traditional, the best, the easiest wood to work with, though it's not very structurally sound. It's a lot like poplar, very easily dense. I guess you guys can't see.
No,
it
we can see.
Oh, you could? Cool. But yeah, basswood's a fun one. Oh, yeah, some of you guys might like this down here. Down below my bench, these are all the tools I have to restore. I had I have this whole box down here of wooden planes that I want to get to. I've had 2 different people send me several of them, and I want to do a video series on restoring those. I have a bunch of saws in here. This box down here is all regular hand planes. This one up here is vises and a lathe head. This is all the glue. And this one's chisels and miscellaneous things. But yeah, I want to get back into restoring tools here soon. But lots of other things. Oh, I'm talking about restoring tools. Let's make everyone dizzy again. And yeah, a while ago I put out a video on this scroll saw. And I spent a long time today with a coping saw really wishing I had this thing up and running. So I'm hoping to get this up and going here soon. A friend of mine from the Midwest Tool Collectors actually had these cast. So he has a complete one. And so these are the pedal bars that can go on here. So there'll be a wooden pedal that then rides on top of this that you can drive this whole thing with. And so he had these cast off of one of his. And gave me I bought a pair from him, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this sucker up and going. But we'll see. Oh, here's a question for you guys. This is my dowel storage down here, and I've been trying to find a good way to store dowels. I'm thinking about just getting a PVC pipe, but if the PVC pipe is too long, then all the small ones die in it. So do I get 2 or 3 different height PVC pipes? But I want to do something better for storing dowels. So if any of you have an idea on that, let me know. Got any other questions?
All right, I got to go back up. Russ Staple says, James, have you considered sending pictures of your table to Fine Woodworking?
No, I haven't. I don't know. Honestly, I don't subscribe to any of the magazines. I used to, but I would get them all and they would sit on the table and I'd be like, oh, I've got to read through that, and never got to them. So I don't look at the magazines that much. I would like to. Great information in there, just it's not as time efficient for me, which is really sad because I really like them. Except for Mortise and Tenon, because that only comes out once a year, I can do that. But the Mortise and Tenon magazine's just like gorgeous, except for the last one. I haven't had the chance to read that one yet, which is killing me. What else we got?
Hang on. I gotta go back up. Let's see. Colin McLaughlin wants to know, did you receive his sticker?
What was the sticker?
Okay, Colin, tell us what
name?
Sticker was.
What the company name was? Because I'm horrible with connecting names to business names. But let me see, where was the most recent one on here? I don't remember. Yeah, let me know.
Let's see. We talked about chiseling. Don Davis asked, do you know any one-handed planes or ways to use them one-handed?
Any plane that's sharp can be used one-handed. You just can't put as much force into it, and it's a little bit harder to keep on track. It wants to go side to side. But if a plane is sharp and ready to go, make sure I didn't knock that. The plane will naturally dive into the wood. This one is currently, no, that one's pretty dull. I won't be able to show that. But if it's sharp, the weight of the plane, it should be enough to keep it into the wood, unless you're talking about something nasty like maple or really hard or tough woods. You can do them one-handed. Now that being said, block planes are a one-handed plane. Yes, you can hold them too, and usually there's one hand up here pinching and the other one just makes it easier to control. But if I'm chamfering or things like that, that's a one-handed plane. So any plane can be, it just makes it easier to keep it on track if it's two-handed. And it's just easier to put the force into it. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, the blade's out too far. I have to back it off. Oh yeah, that's how it weighs. Woo! That's a heavy cut. Sorry. What you got?
Colin said it's Max Woodworking. That's his sticker.
Max Woodworking. I don't think I've seen yours. Yeah, no, I don't think I've seen that one.
Maybe it's in the mail.
Maybe I'll see it here soon. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to filling those cabinets up. It won't take long until they're completely covered.
All right. Troy Jacobson asked, how much does it help to have leather on the vice chops? I don't have any right now and parts slip a lot.
Oh yeah, leather is phenomenal. Here, let me actually. Oh, I don't have. No, I do have the soft vice on this still. Here, cool. I have this one, which is a very soft leather. It is a. I can't remember what the tanning on this is. If it's metal tanning, mercury tanning, I don't remember, but it's very, very soft, and I don't like it as much. I actually like a really stiff veg tan, which is what I have here on the end vise, face vise. And on this, the jaws are a very hard leather, and this works really well, especially on this face vise where I can put leather on both of them here. On the leg vise, I can only put on the leg side. I don't want to put it on the face of the bench, otherwise it bumps out the face of the bench. But yes, leather is phenomenal. I have a video on actually installing these, because one of these is put on with contact cement and the other one is put on with hide glue. And so I have both of them on there. I'm looking forward to seeing which one delaminates first, and is there a problem with them, to see which glue I like better. But so far, both glues are holding very well, hide glue and contact cement. So yeah. What else you got?
Oh, so Steve Does Stuff wants to know what it is that hanging shaving from, the one that's in our living room. What type of wood, I'm assuming?
That is actually red oak. It was one of my first curls. And it's like a 9-foot long red oak curl, 1 inch wide. And it was my first end-to-end full-length curl, and it all came out in this beautiful long curl, and so it's hanging from a hook in the ceiling, just this long spring. Very cool. About 18 inches long. I know, I like my curls.
Yeah.
What else?
Russ Staples asked, James, have you considered using softer hardwood? You're the only hand tool woodworker using a difficult hardwood.
Yeah, walnut is a fairly soft hardwood. Poplar is a really soft wood. I use box elder a bit. I have a good stock of that. Box elder is a really nice one to work with. It's a maple, but it's a very soft maple, and incredibly soft maple. Works really well. It cuts like maple, but it cuts far easier than maple. It has the same smooth cut that maple does, but pushing through it beautifully easily. So yeah, I do use a lot of that. It's just most of them aren't as colorful and unique and explosive as white oak. And I find the challenge of white oak to be worth it, but just personal preference.
All right. Let's see. Michael Christophers asked, what timber would you use for a bow saw of Australian timber?
I have not gotten to play with much Australian woods, so I would not be the person to ask on that. For a bow saw, though, it really doesn't take that much, because the wood itself is in compression. A lot of saws are actually made from a soft wood, so you don't need much of any force in this, because this center spar is actually in compression. These ones out here, because they're actually being bent, or the force is on either end and it's almost being sheared. You need something a little more solid on this, but most all hardwoods will end up doing a fairly good job for the outside beams. But yeah, I don't have much help on Australian woods, sorry.
So just going back to your wood curls idea, one thing that we did, was it last year or the year before, we actually made ornaments.
Oh yeah, we got glass balls. You can get those clear glass ornaments. And I made a project, it was the cutting board.
Yeah.
And I had Paduke and walnut and ash. And all three of those made a really cool curl combination. And so I stuffed a bunch of those glass balls with the wood curls. Just the color combination looked great. And then we put a bow on top, and I wrote the year on them with acrylic paint. And turned out really well. But I mean, even then, we made 24 ornaments, and we only used like that much curls. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool ornament ideas for the curls.
Christmas is coming up.
Yes, it is.
All right, so going back to your dowel storage, ask for suggestions. Burley Woodwork said perhaps a quiver, like for arrows. And then PVC pipe is kind of the one that's been coming out some, saying, give it a 45 or 50 degree angle. But I think that's the general consensus. And then Miles Hordisky asks, what's a foot planner? Planner? I'm not sure. For
A foot planer?
It's not like planner, so I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know. Send me a link. Sorry. What's a foot planner?
I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know.
Jimmy O asks, have you considered making your own vise?
Yes. Or are you talking about like the vise screw? Actually, I do want to do a video on that, actually carving my own. It's a relatively easy thing to do. The hard thing is carving the nut that fits into it, but it can be done. So I want to do that sometime. But the vise screw from this one was from Lake Erie. I have one from Acer Ferris. This one is Veritas. This one is Hovarder. So yeah, I've never actually made the screw, but I've made all of my vices. And let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 vices in my shop, so you can never have enough vices. Just don't tell my wife.
I already know your vices. Yes. All right. Ross Staples says, James, I thought you used horse butt leather. I don't know if he's talking about one of your
I use horse butt leather for strops, for my final thickness on sharpening tools, but not for, that would be a bit too hard for vice jaws. A veg tan, harder leather. I leave the rough side out on the vice jaws, not the smooth side. The rough side just gives it a little more texture. Yeah, that and horse butt would be very expensive to do jaws with because it's not a cheap leather.
All right. Cody Bryant asks, James, do you prefer your number 7 or number 8 when jointing boards? And if someone has a number 7, is there any reason for having a number 8?
Oh, the number 7, number 8 debate. This is a good one. So the number 7 is shorter by 2 inches, but it's also narrower by 3. No, it's narrower by a ½ inch. So the number 7 is smaller in both ways, and it also means that it's lighter. So if you're going to be doing a large session of planing, the number 7 is easier to work with. Whereas the number 8 has a lot of weight, so once it gets going, it just keeps going, and it's almost harder to stop. That being said, the wider blade on this, if ever I'm doing a book match jointing, and so I have the 2 boards together, and I joint the edge together, this is a lot nicer because the wider blade on here will cover both boards much easier than the 7 will. If I'm using the 7, I have to be very careful not to move it side to side. If I only could get one or the other, I'd do the 8 because the 8 can do anything that the 7 will do. It's just a bit clunky at times. And when I was jointing the big tabletop, the 8 was fantastic because the 7 was too narrow and I couldn't get the entire top on the 7, so I had to get the number 8. As to lengthwise, that extra 2 inches is nice, but it's not necessary. So, that's not huge. If you already have a number 7, you probably don't need to get a number 8 unless you want to finish your collection. But there have been a few times where I've needed a number 8 that the number 7 just won't work, but that's pretty rare, and you usually see it coming, and you can know ahead of time, hey, I'm going to need to find one. But it's very rare. And even then, you know, I could still joint with a number 7. I just have to do 2 passes side by side. So it's not a huge issue. So, I mean, I guess you could do what you need to do with the 7 instead of the 8, but the 8 is easier for some things. So, do you need both? No. But do you need both? Yes.
What's the answer you tell your wife?
Yes. Babe, if you want that new dining room table, I need a number 8.
Oh, yes, that was precisely the reason why you built it. All right. Let's see. Julie Gregg says, James, I missed you at the MWTCA meet because you left Saturday. He went Saturday and got one of those mini router plates you were looking at. So. And then Alan Smith says, will James try to make inlay rings?
Inlaid rings. Oh, you're talking about like wearing rings. I do want to make a ring at some time. They are...
To rule them all?
Yes. Hand tools, it is a difficult task to do. I mean, it's not something... Well, I guess I might be able to come up with one to do that on a spring pole lathe. That would be very interesting. I don't know. We'll have to see. I do want to try and do a ring sometime, but I haven't, it just hasn't hit my schedule yet. So it would be kind of fun though.
All right. Dan Young says, can you discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a one live bench hook versus the thinner 2-piece style?
The one line bench?
Maybe it's one line. It was typed live.
Can you read that again?
Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a one live bench hook, maybe it's one line, versus the thinner 2-piece style.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. So, like, I have this bench hook that I use that I can cut things on, but you can also get like a sloyd, which is basically like if you cut this in half, it'd be 2 pieces that you can set farther apart so you can span a piece wider across the bench. I've wanted to make a sloyd hook just to show how it's done, but I don't really have any particular need for it. The one nice thing about it is that if I'm cutting something here, but if I have a long board that sticks out, it wants to sink down over here all the way to the bench, and so I have to put something on it to raise it up, but this is 3/4 inch thick, so I grab some other stock around me that's 3/4 inch set on the bench, and it lifts that up to that height. So it's not a huge issue. So if I ever really needed one, no. I built this right after I built my first bench out of a chunk of scrap, and it still works today. So, I mean, it's starting to get down. Might have to remake a new one here soon. So that make you.
Right.
Is there better use to one or the other? No, it's a personal preference. You never know until you try.
Are you going to be standing there for a while now?
Why am I cut off? Is it like here?
Lips again. Sorry. It's probably only me that it bothers.
Here, let me do this. There, is that better? Oh, let me focus it though. What else you got?
Let's see. I got to get back up here.
Yeah, while she's doing that, here's a quick look at Thursday's video.
What is
Should be kind of fun.
Is it a turkey?
Well, you have to wait and find out.
I don't have good eyesight. Let's see from here.
Working on that today.
Were the children? No, they were in school.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Foot planer. That's what.
Yeah, I don't know what a foot planer is.
I don't know.
I've never heard of it.
All right.
Sure, if it's something you'd send me a link and be like, oh, yeah, it's known by such a name in some other place.
He's being lippy.
So many things are known by like 10 different names, and every now and then someone comes up to me and is like, hey, do you know what a flappenjagger is? I'm like, what's a flappenjagger? Oh, it's a low angle plane. I don't know, what's a flappenjagger?
All right, let's see. Mike Bordeaux asks, can you go through the various mallets you have and what they are used for?
Ooh, mallets. Mallet is what brings us together today. All right, let me move this over and show you what I've got. Now, you can never have enough mallets. Mallets are like a passion that you you make your first joiner's mallet, and it's like, oh, this is great. This is the only mallet I'll ever need, but it has a hard face, and I'd like something a little softer. So let's make a finishing mallet that's a softer face, and then put some leather on it. And then you get into carving, and then you need a carving mallet, but this one isn't right. You need one with a little more weight, and you'd like one a little bit smaller. And then you get one with a bigger handle, and for carving mallets, there are all sorts of different things, because a carving mallet, you hold the head, and you almost hit it with that. And so I like this one with the counterbalance. I use this one probably the most. I have a video on turning that. This little one, though, with a brass head is really nice, because just with a little bit of tapping, you can go to town. This is one I made for the kids. And I pull those out occasionally. And then you get into rawhide. These are great for working with your leather tools. Anytime you're tapping on steel and you don't want to mushroom it over, rawhide mallets are great. And then I have my split face mallets that I can actually change out the heads. So a lot of times people have a rawhide in here. I have this one with maple. I have this one with pine. So I can actually change out the different heads in here. I can put long grain or end grain. I mean, you can never have. And this one was sent to me to play with. This one's actually kind of interesting, and I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous with the curly maple, spalted maple. But the handle, most of the time, the oval runs with the head, and the oval of this handle actually runs across the head. And the idea is, if you're working at the bench, it's easier to hold it like this and tap that way than holding it like this. So I'm playing with this one occasionally, but I haven't quite found a handle. I mean, you never get enough mallets, and then you start getting into chasing, and of course everyone needs a regular hammer, though I almost never use an actual hammer in the shop. A ball peen I'll occasionally grab for that, and then this tiny little claw hammer. And this is, and then you need a plane adjustment mallet, and this is probably only about half of my mallets. The other half are around somewhere else. And every mallet has its own personal preference of how it feels, and then everyone likes how they like their mallet. And so, any particular type of carving mallet you get into, everyone has something else that they like on it. And you never know until you try it. And so that means you got to buy a bunch of them, or you got to make a bunch of them until you find something you really love. Like this live oak. I just love the feeling of this live oak. Absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, mallets are... I have lots of videos on making mallets. That's a topic I could do an entire video on.
So, RWT asks, where do you get your leather anyways? Tandy's?
Different places. This soft leather I got from Tandy Leather. My horse butt I've gotten from Tools for Working Wood. They sell a single strop worth of it. It's kind of expensive there. I bought a rump of horse butt a while ago, but the company I bought it from no longer sells it. So you have to stick around. You have to look around online for that. I haven't found it at Tandy. Most of the time, Tandy is the first place I go to. There's one up in Milwaukee, about an hour and a half from me. So I'll often go up there, and I just love walking there. It smells fantastic. But yeah, picking through those leathers is fun. But tandyleather.com, you can also buy it there. So lots of good places. I do also buy leather on Amazon. I mean, you have to know what you're looking for when you go there, because a lot of times the descriptions are like, it's leather. And you're like, what kind of leather? Well, it's leather. So, yeah. What else you got?
Hang on. Truly Greg says, James, could you do a troubleshooting video on how to figure out why a plane is not working?
Oh man, I've done several different videos on problems with planes. The problem with that is that there are so many different things that can go wrong that you can't contain it in one video. And I've done a couple different videos on the most common problems with planes. I've done videos on chip breaker. I've done videos on starting. I've done videos on setting it up for smoothing, for setting it up for roughing. And there are so many little different things that come up that the best answer I can give you is spend some time with your plane and get to know what it feels like. Now, The problem with that is if it's messing up to begin with and you don't know what it feels like when it's actually working well, then you're kind of up a creek without a paddle and you're going to spend a lot of time experimenting. If it's clogging up, then chances are good it's a problem with the chip breaker not fitting with the iron. The mouth could be too tight, but that's rarely a problem. There's adjusting the frog in and out. There's adjusting your fit of the iron. There's adjusting the depth of cut. There's adjusting the mouth opening. There's adjusting the lateral movements. It's a very long list of things. The easiest way is to find someone locally who knows their hand plane. You can hand it to them and go, oh yeah, here's the problem. There's just so many problems with it. If you do want specific advice, send me a couple pictures and information. You can find my email on my website. And I can try and help you through that, but a lot of it you just got to feel in person to know. So maybe I should do another video here soon. The 45 most common problems with planes, and then I'd still have a lot of people like, oh yeah, mine's not any of those. I got this problem. What else we got?
All right, hang on. Kevin Cook asks, where can I purchase your card scrapers?
On my website, woodbyrwright.com/shop, and they're on there, as well as, I've got all my plans on there and t-shirts, and I'm almost out of my blue t-shirts, so I'm going to be replacing those here soon. I think I have like 5 of those left, so I only have a few sizes left.
And I think you only have like medium and large. Do you have an extra large?
I have 2 extra large, I think it is.
Okay. I don't think you have any more smalls, though, do you?
I don't think I have any smalls left.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Troy Jacobson, what's the origin of the name for a chasing mallet?
It's called a chasing mallet because it's a mallet used for chasing. Chasing is a term, like the V-tool carving that I do where I'm just following a line, technically that's chasing. Actually, I don't know why it's called chasing. I would assume because you're chasing a line, but I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting one.
You could have just sold it and they would have bought it, I think.
Yeah. But a chasing mallet particularly is this one here. It's a tiny little head and usually has this bulbous handle. And you take tiny little taps on a steel, chaser. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a... names are problem. But it's more or less for actually carving in steel. You use one of these. It's just tiny little taps is all it takes to actually put in the carving. So that's a reason I got that is I want to actually start getting into it. I have a set of them over there. So soon I might do a video on carving in steel. Or at least brass. What else?
Aubrey Kuhn asks, are you going to do another gift ideas video this year? Maybe one of the tools to make for other woodworkers as gifts, since you weren't sponsored and last year's are there. I'm assuming it's supposed to be ideas.
Yeah, I did last year I did a video on Christmas gifts ideas. I think I'm going to do another one that might actually be coming out Saturday. We will be seeing, depending upon how things come out. I was thinking about doing it on Thursday because, it's Thanksgiving, but it'll probably come out Saturday if I end up doing that. I do actually want to do a couple other videos. I have like 3 or 4 other projects that are little gifts that you can give to other people. And I want to do several projects that are like, an hour or 2 in the shop and you can turn out something to give to someone. With basic hand tools, how can you do that? So a couple little hand puzzles and other things like that will be coming out. But earlier this year, I did a video on making a breadboard. That would be a great quick gift, or a bread knife. Those are really easy. The coasters video that I did, the self-stacking coasters, you can put one of those together in the afternoon, and those make great Christmas gifts. But yes, I do want to do a video on Christmas gift ideas for the woodworker. So, yeah.
So in other words, I should watch that video. Or do you
Yeah, except for
already
most
own?
everything will be something I already have.
Okay, so it's not helpful. Okay. Like
That should be a fun one. Hopefully Saturday, we'll see. What else?
I think we're caught up.
Oh, really?
I know.
Cool. No, this is, I'm really looking forward to getting the shop here. Yeah. Projects I have coming up here are wanting to get into that scroll saw here really quickly. Probably in the next week or two, start doing the restoration on that. I'm going to be making the flywheel for it, making the pedals, and actually getting that up and running. I have a few things that I have to functionally work through. Making the flywheel will be very interesting because I'm going to make it out of a solid piece of white oak as opposed to casting the original cast steel on it. But then I've got several other little trinkets that I want to make, as well as I'm thinking about making a side table for bedside. So I want to make one that is a storage unit. So a guy always has a bunch of junk on the side table, and so actually make one that can store and organize that junk. So that should be an interesting one. And then I'm thinking about doing a wall hanging cabinet coming up, and yeah, there's a few other things. I don't have a furniture build right now that I want to work on because I just finished the table and I want to do a bunch of other smaller things. Oh yes, and the glue test. Probably that will be coming out in the next month or so. I'm getting all those glued together, so I'll probably be starting on it here soon. So, woohoo! So thank you, Marcus, particularly, who is in Germany. He sent me a pile of glues from Europe, and then I have several glues from South America as well. So I'll actually be testing a lot of glues that are international this time, so we can compare them to what I had in the last glue test. We'll be doing the exact same glue test so we can have an apples to apples test. So that should be nice. Cool. Anything else?
All right, Alan just popped up with a question. Said, I love the shop organizing. Any future tills, holders, bins, or other ideas?
The one thing I don't have on this wall is a place to store my hand routers. And that's a hard one. I thought about doing something, in the notch of the saw. I really don't have much more space on here. I haven't come up with a good way. Right now they're sitting in here at my saw shelf. But most everything I don't have, there really isn't a tool that I would regularly use that isn't on this wall. There just hasn't been one made. So if it's something that I'm not going to be using every month or every other month, then I'm probably not going to keep it on this wall. I'm going to store it somewhere else in the shop. And let me back up and say the reason why I have this tool wall here, rather than a tool cabinet or a tool box, in the first place, there are three reasons you would have a tool cabinet or tool box. Historically, the reason is so you could have all your tools and you could lock them up and close them, because you would usually be in a shop with several other woodworkers, and you would bring your own tools. So you'd have your tools in your cabinet or your box, and you could lock them up and make sure they were safe when you were gone. Well, because I'm the only one in this house, I don't need to lock them up. Number two is dust protection, which is more common now for power tool or hybrid shops where you have both going on. It's nice to be able to lock them up, close them, and keep the dust off. Because I'm mainly hand tooled, it's not a huge issue for me. The other common thing is if you're working in a place that isn't climate controlled, it's good to have them in a closed box where you can put several other mitigations in there so that you can help keep the moisture off of the tools. But because I'm in an air-conditioned basement, rust really isn't a huge issue for me, so it's not something I think about. So the reason why I have them all in the tool wall is when I'm standing here working at the bench, all of my tools are within one step of where I'm working. So at any given time, 90% of my tools aren't even a step away. I just turn around and grab them. Then when I'm done with them, I can hang them back up. So it's very quick, very efficient. I don't have to go through a cabinet. I don't have to go through a box. I don't have to go through drawers. Everything is here within reach. Very fast, very efficient, and very useful. And so that's the reason why I have a tool wall rather than a tool cabinet. I get a lot of questions about that, so I figured it'd be a good time to rush through that.
Plus it makes a nice backdrop.
Yes, and it looks fantastic on a video. Except for when people are like, wow, is that wall real or is that CGI? Like, no, it's real. Yeah. I grab things out of the CGI wall. had a few comments like that. No, they're real.
You must not watch your videos very long.
Yes.
All right, so a couple ideas have come through for, I'm guessing, next projects. One's a Viking chest.
I want to make a Viking axe. So like have a collaboration with like Alex Steele or some other metal worker and do a historical Viking axe, a woodworking axe, and do a couple projects with that. But,
And then a bread box.
A bread box would be nice, except for I have no place to put a bread box. Our counter space is like that much. Maybe I'll do a giveaway. It would be nice to do a little like roll top bread box. That'd be a good project.
Oh, you could make me like a secretary desk holder. Anyway, ideas. And then how about different benches, like a garden bench, a kitchen table bench, things like that?
A kitchen table bench?
I don't know. That's just what was written.
Oh, like a seating bench. Yeah, actually that's, as soon as I find the slabs for it, I want to make a bench that matches the table. So our 3 kids can sit at a bench rather than always sliding chairs around. So that is on my list as well.
But high enough so they can.
Yeah, slightly higher than your normal chair.
All right, Wayne Dixon asks, is that a long saw, a one-man log crosscut saw?
This one, yes. It has. I have the handle for the other side, so it can be 2-man, but it's a 5 foot. Yeah, 5 foot crosscut saw.
That thing's bigger than me. That's so sad.
Yeah, and I have actually a project I want to use it, so I'm thinking about doing a whole video on sharpening it and then taking it out. So we'll see how that comes.
You have another vote for bread box, by the way. And then Aubrey Kuhn asks, for your own designs, when would you personally choose to display fasteners rather than conceal them?
Fasteners as in hardware, I rarely use them, so that's not as much of an issue. Yeah, for me, anytime that there's hardware, if the hardware isn't worth showing, I try not to put it in the work. And yeah, I like to show my joinery. I like to show the joinery method. So I like through dovetails. I like through mortise and tenon, so you can see all of the joinery and how things come together. I find that just it brings out the work and makes it look much better. So if I do use hardware, clasps and hinges and things like that, I like to have them showing. I like to have them a little bit more ornate. Make them actually a part of the piece as opposed to something that's hidden. So I rarely use screws. I mean, I do have several things in here, like the catches that are holding the planes in place are put in with screws. But that's more or less because I want to be able to regularly move them, even though I've never moved them. Except for this one. I busted this one today. That's why this plane isn't there. Actually, I broke that one off, so I got to make a new one of those. But, oh well.
All right. Kylan Mullis asks, what's your favorite style of shave horse?
Oh, man. The one I'm sitting on? I want to make a shaved pony. So it's rather than being a shave horse you sit on, it's actually one that stands upright and locks onto a bench vise. And so it's a smaller thing that stands vertically, and so you can actually work at your bench. So that's something on my list, because I don't have a whole lot of space in the shop to have a full shave pony. Someday I'd like to have an outside workshop where I can have the spring pole lathe and a shave pony and do some Windsor chair building. That'd be a lot of fun, but I don't have an outside shop to fit all that stuff. But maybe someday we'll pole build something like that.
All right. And Steve Does Stuff says, since the bench is third the width of the table, will it take 1/3 the time to make or 3 times as long? That is a long question for me at this time of the night, Steve.
The bench will end up being something far simpler than the table, so it'll be. I haven't figured out the base I want on that, because I actually want to design the chairs, and then build a bench to match the chairs before I build the chairs. But that way they at least look similar. And so I have the ideas rolling around in my brain, and as soon as I get the slabs, then it's kind of like a roulette wheel that suddenly just stops. And that's what it's going to be. So until that point, I have no idea. Find out. Yeah, I'm looking forward to building chairs too, but that'll probably be a couple years down the list. We'll see. Is that about it? I think we're coming up on time.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, unless anyone has any last minute questions, I think we're going to wrap this up. So, yes, I am happy the shop is clean and I've got a whole bunch of projects that I want to dive into, but unfortunately, they can only put out 2 new videos a week. So, hang in with me. Eventually, we'll get around to doing a video for everything. But then by that time, I'll have to go back and revamp some of the old videos. So that's always the fun. But I think that's about it. If I didn't get to your question, you really want to answer it, have me answer it, go ahead and send it to me. There's a contact box on my website, and you can find out more there, woodbywright.com.
And happy Thanksgiving
Yes.
to all of our Americans.
Eat foods, enjoy yourselves, because there probably aren't too many Europeans on right now. It's like, what, 2, 3 a.m. there?
Someone said earlier, yeah.
So, yeah. We might have to do another one live here soon. I'll do something European-ish and do it earlier in the day. I don't know. We'll see. So, I think that'll about do it. And...
Oh, hang on.
I was just about
Someone just threw it in. What hand tool would you say is good for hogging off material for a spatula?
Hogging off material for a spatula. That is a really specific question. Hogging off material is a scrub plane most of the time. It's a big cambered iron. It takes off large chunks and going to town. And so this is a great way to thin material quickly, and then you come in with a smoothing plane and shape that down further. But in a spatula particularly, I don't know. I'd have to see what you're thinking about. Usually a scrub plane takes the material down, so if you're thinking about doing something that kind of like a wedge, I'm over exaggerating the angle, but if it's like wedge spaced, like a spatula would be with a handle coming down to a point, use the scrub plane to get off all the material and get you down close to your angle, and then come in with a plane and refine it and bring it in smooth. Probably what I would do. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Do it fast.
So, until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye. Oh no, where's my mouse?
No, waiting for the
Get
click.
back over
Oh, where's
here.
the click?
I can't find. There we. Hang on. There we go.